I guess one thing I was wanting to ask is, if you were somebody came to you and obviously was suffering with an eating disorder and they wanted to try this way of eating, what kind of foods would you help incorporate to get the calories up so that they were able to fully recover? Because Ryan's obviously tried this in the past. He wasn't able to gain weight properly.
Yeah,
Quite,
it did.
quite a few other people that I know have struggled as well. I just think it would kind of help give people a bit of context and maybe help
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because I kind of think about it like this, like the goals of somebody maybe potentially who's very obese and diabetic are very different than the goals of somebody who's very overweight and struggling with an eating disorder, right?
Mhm.
So I do think, like you said, I think it's very important to be very non-dogmatic in our thinking, because I think if you just say like, okay, everybody only eats meat and fat and a pound of that, that's that could be really bad for somebody who may need a lot more calories or a lot more fat. And the last thing I want to do is to scare somebody away from potentially eating foods that could help you recover. So kind of how I set it out in my book is, I have like kind of like 3 tiers, and like where your health is and how you're doing is where I would start you on the tier. Like if you are someone who's severely anorexic, really underweight, I would start you in what I call the 3rd tier, which is the animal-based build out. So we're going to incorporate mostly meat and fat. Like every kind of the foundation is the same. And that's what kind of a main take home message I would like to hopefully advocate in my book is, there are nuances. We're all humans. We all do things a little differently. You know, I'm an athlete, you know, whatever. But I believe the foundation is where we're missing the point, because I think the foundation right now is the nutrition. Why am I saying this? The current standard guidelines, and they're so heavily carb and heavily sugar and heavily processed that they're just causing more harm than good. So we would start with a foundation. I would start every person, you know, if it was like, say you're very underweight, and I actually had this situation when contacted me. Your foundation is now you have 3 very high fat, high meat meals. Okay. That's where we're starting. But guess what? You know, someone who is a normal weight or maybe even trying to lose weight may only need 2 meals, and they're not going to have snacks. Well, guess what? You need to gain weight. So you're also going to have snacks.
Yeah.
And we're also not limiting your carbohydrates. We're going to go back to very basics on what your body can tolerate. So from there, I would figure out the simplest, most basic, you know, I think it's a mistake to give somebody just this massive amount of sugar, not because of the calories. They need the calories, but because of the GI distress it can have. I would lean towards something, you know, can you tolerate like a white potato, sweet potato, long fermented bread, rice, something like that. So once again, it's not anti-carb. It's a lot of meat, a lot of fat, maybe, and your calories would depend. Are your meals going to be 600, 800, 1,000 each one? It would depend on your weight, your height, your gender. And then I would have a small amount of carbs. So once again, this isn't no carb. This just is not 400 grams of sugar. And, you know, and I've had people tell me like, man, I know I need to gain weight, but I'm really full. I mean, for lack of a better word, tough shit. Like, you know, if you want to recover, you got to be brave, right? Like, and the goal is hopefully, you know, you're at a place where you're coming to this, where you've tried everything, it's not working. The definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing. So if you really, really want to recover, you know, and a lot of people have said, man, I really do. And I've tried everything, you know, well, I've met very few people that have given like a high animal fat, high meat diet, a full 30-day go that haven't experienced some really, really positive results. Also, I think it's essential you get someone to keep you accountable, because I mean, I'm 37. You know, I have people in my life to keep me accountable. I have a running coach. I have a partner that helps even with my own personal nutrition. So that would be what I would kind of say where you start.